Have you ever really stopped to think about what life could look like if you didn't have to work until you were 65? What if you could stop decades earlier? Well, today we're going to crack the code on a movement that's all about doing just that. We're exploring a totally different path to financial freedom. And as we go, I'll point you to some amazing resources like Retirement AI Helper, which can help you build your own roadmap to get there. I mean, it's a huge question, isn't it? The whole idea of getting back your most valuable asset, your time, way, way before the usual retirement age. And look, this isn't some fantasy. It's the real core goal of a financial movement that's getting bigger every day. Right, so it's called FIRE. That stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. But honestly, that retire early part can throw people off. The real heart of this whole thing, the most important part, is that first half, financial independence. It's all about getting to a place where working is something you choose to do, not something you have to do just to keep the lights on. All right, Section 1, the dream of retiring early. This is really an invitation to a different path. So let's dive in. This whole FIRE movement, which got super popular thanks to bloggers like Mr. Money Mustache, basically just throws out that old work till you're 65 rulebook. It's a whole philosophy, really, built on being super intentional and efficient with your life and money. And this slide really gets to the core of it. The idea is to have enough assets out there working for you, generating income, so that you just don't need a paycheck anymore. And no, it's not about just sitting on a beach all day, unless that's your dream, of course. It's about building up this investment portfolio that pays for your life, effectively buying back your time. It gives you the freedom to spend your days exactly how you want to. Okay, next up, how the FIRE math works. These are the simple rules of the game. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This has got to be super complicated, right? But what's so cool about this is that the math behind FIRE is actually shockingly simple. It really just comes down to a few key numbers and a couple of basic rules. So the engine that drives this whole thing, it's a crazy high savings rate. We're talking 50 to 70% of what you take home. And you're probably asking, how is that even possible? Well, it's all about breaking the cycle of what's called lifestyle inflation. You know that thing where you get a raise and suddenly your spending goes up to match it? FIRE is the opposite. Instead of getting a bigger house or a fancier car, that extra cash goes straight into investments. And that savings rate is all about hitting one specific target, your FIRE number. This is it. This is the nest egg you're aiming for. And the way you figure it out is super simple. Just take what you spend in a year and multiply it by 25. That's it. So let's say you live on 40 grand a year. Your FIRE number is $1 million. Suddenly, this huge abstract goal becomes a concrete number you can actually work towards. So where does that magic number 25 come from? Well, it's basically just the flip side of something called the 4% rule. And this rule is a really big deal in retirement planning. It comes from some famous research, the Trinity study, which found that you could pretty safely take out 4% of your portfolio in your first year of retirement and then adjust that amount for inflation each year after without a high risk of running out of money over 30 years. It's really the cornerstone of this whole strategy. Okay, so when you put it all together, you get this really clear blueprint. Step 1, you have to know where your money is going so you track your spending and cut it down. Seriously, this is the most powerful thing you can do. Step 2, you take that annual spending number and multiply by 25 to get your FIRE number. Step 3, you save like crazy and invest all of it, usually in simple things like low-cost index funds. And then Step 4, you hit your number, and guess what? You're free. All right, let's talk about how you can choose your FIRE style, because it is definitely not one size fits all. The way I like to think about it is that FIRE isn't just one road. It's more like a big city with a bunch of different neighborhoods. Each one has its own vibe, its own lifestyle, and you get to pick the one that feels right for you. Okay, so the two big ones you always hear about are lean FIRE and fat FIRE. Lean FIRE is all about extreme frugality. You live on a super lean budget, maybe less than $40,000 a year, which means you can get there with a smaller portfolio. Then you've got fat FIRE on the other end of the spectrum. This is for people who want a more comfortable lifestyle in retirement, living on, say, 100 grand or more a year. Obviously, that means you're going to need a much, much bigger nest egg. Then there's a really interesting one called coast FIRE. This is more of a milestone than a final goal. It's the point where you've already saved up enough money that, even if you never saved another penny, your investments would just coast on their own and grow into enough for a traditional retirement at 65. The amazing part? The pressure is off. You just have to work enough to cover your day-to-day bills, which could mean taking a dream job that pays less or just working part-time. And that leads perfectly into another popular flavor, Barista Fire. So with this one, you've saved most of what you need, but you work a pretty low-stress part-time job. And yeah, it's called Barista Fire because a lot of people might work at a place like Starbucks, not just for the paycheck, but for one huge reason: the health insurance benefits. It's a great hybrid approach that gives you a safety net and makes the finish line so much easier to reach. Okay, let's get real for a minute. We need to talk about the unspoken risks and criticisms. This is a reality check, because as awesome as all this sounds, we have to look at the other side of the coin. The path to fire is definitely not all sunshine and rainbows, and you really have to go into this with your eyes wide open. So what are the roadblocks? Well, first off, life happens, right? A huge market crash right after you retire is probably the biggest fear. It's called sequence risk, and it's devastating because you're selling your investments when they're down just to pay your bills, and that can cripple your portfolio for good. Then there's healthcare. I mean, that's a huge question mark without a job to help pay for it. And let's not forget the human cost. Years and years of extreme saving can lead to total burnout. It can be really tough on you and your relationships. And that brings up a really important question. Is that 4% rule actually safe if your retirement could last 50 or even 60 years? Think about it. That rule was tested on a 30-year timeline. If you retire at 35, you're asking your money to last maybe twice as long. That's a huge difference. You're going through way more ups and downs in the market. That's why a lot of people in the FIRE community now argue for a safer withdrawal rate, maybe closer to 3 or 3.5%. But honestly, maybe the biggest challenge isn't about the money at all. It's psychological. For so many of us, our job is, well, it's a huge part of our identity. It gives us structure, a community. So what happens when you retire at 40 and all your friends are still working? What do you say when someone asks, "So, what do you do?" It can be a real struggle. You have to plan for your purpose just as carefully as you plan for your portfolio. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's talk about the lessons for the rest of us and how everyone can find their own freedom. Because here's the key. Whether you actually want to retire at 35 or you're perfectly happy working until 65, the FIRE movement has some incredibly powerful lessons that can make anyone's financial life better. You don't have to go to the extreme to get the benefits. The habits that build this strong financial foundation, they're for everybody. Things like actually knowing where your money goes, breaking that habit of spending more just because you earn more, prioritizing saving, even if it's not 50%, and maybe most importantly, taking the time to figure out what enough really means to you and your happiness. These are things we can all do to build real security. And at the end of the day, this quote just says it all. The goal isn't just to stop working. It's to start living on your own terms. I mean, that's it, right? It's about being intentional. It's about designing the life you actually want and just using money as the tool to get you there. So what are the big takeaways here? First, FIRE is a whole spectrum of choices, not just one extreme path. Second, the most powerful tool you have, the one you control completely, is how much you spend. And third, you don't have to be aiming for retirement at 30 to use these ideas. The principles behind FIRE can help absolutely everyone on their financial journey. Because really, retirement isn't about an age on a calendar. It's about being ready. It's about readiness. You've worked hard for your money. Now it's time to make a plan for your freedom. To start building that personalized roadmap for yourself, go check out www.retirementaihelper.com today.